Hello, world of movie makers. Guys, we got 1 week until we start the workshops. I hope you're getting ready. I want to make these videos for you to make you the most prepared you can be. And here's the step we need to focus on right now. Writing your story, what your story looks like, what your story is comprised of and full of, and the structure that it needs to have. So go grab a pen and paper because you need to write some of the stuff down. Now I know what you're thinking, Doug, I don't want to write, this is not school. I don't want to have to write notes down. Yes, you do. Go get a pen and paper and write this stuff down. Do you want to make a good movie? Do you want to win a GoPro? Then you need to write these things down so that while you're going through this stuff, you have these notes to write these things down. We're going to do this really simple as we possibly can. Okay? Okay, so story elements. What are the elements of a story? Real simple. Okay? Really simple. There's elements of a story. Characters. Setting. And plot. That's it. Right there. Characters, setting, and plot. What are the characters? Your people. What is the setting? What is the setting? Where it happens. And what is the plot? What happens? So let's go break those down a little bit. So what are your characters? You're going to have your main character, who's like your hero, your main person. Your main character needs to be likable. Okay, then you have your adversary, your bad guy, the person who comes up against your main character. It doesn't even have to be a person. It could just be a situation, like a force or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be a person, but something that comes against your main character. And then you have your sub-characters, people who either help or hurt your main character to get where he's going. So your main character, your bad guy, and your sub-characters. Your setting, where it takes place. So you got to think about your setting on this one, okay? Because if you write your thing to have the setting being Hawaii, you're gonna have a hard time doing shots at the beach. Think about where you live. You don't live in Hawaii, you live in Colorado. So where are the places around you that you can make your settings for your story? You have your house, you have your parents' car, you have the pool, you have restaurants in town, you have your backyard. Think about various settings. Another really unique setting that you can use is what's called a green screen. It's this thing right here. You hang this thing up in your background, and you gotta do this well. You can't do this crappy. You hang this up in your background, and you can put any image behind it that you want. So you wanna do a shot in space, do a green screen. You wanna do a shot in Africa or Asia or on the moon, which is also space, you can use the green screen. Next thing is plot. Plot, it's what happens in your story. And here's what a plot needs to contain. A plot needs to have something, some kind of a goal that your main character wants to accomplish or needs to accomplish or has to do. Maybe he has to push this big red button to save the world, and then this big scary monster is keeping him from pressing the button. And what's he gonna do to get the button? I don't know. What's he gonna do? So a plot has something that he's trying to do, and then the adversary is blocking him from doing it. So then the character has to struggle, he has to fight, he has to look like he's gonna lose, and then he has to win. That's what a story has. A character that wants to do something, a goal, a bad guy who's trying to stop him, a fight, he's almost gonna lose, and then he wins. That's the main basic elements of a story. Now, not every story has to follow these exact rules. Your main character doesn't always have to win. You can form it to be what you want. I'm giving you the main structures of what a story is made of because this is important for you to have overall. You can change little things if you want, but I just be careful. Talk to me about it before you're doing it so I can maybe kind of help guide you. Because once you go outside the boundaries of the structure of a story, you gotta really be careful and really know what you're doing. So that's our characters, our setting, and our plot. Now along all this, in a bigger story, which I don't know if you have time for this in your short film, but you want to see a change in your main character. Maybe your character started off being really scared and timid, and then by the end of it, when he gets through, he's brave and strong. And maybe not. You don't necessarily have to have, it's called a character arc. where you see the character go through this change. A short story doesn't necessarily have to have that, but it's something to keep in mind. You want to see growth in your character. You want your audience to like your character. You want them to be lovable. So these are things you want to talk about with your character. Your story obviously needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you need to write it that way. Sometimes maybe you can write your ending before you even write your beginning. You want to know where you're going before you even start. You don't have to, but it's a good idea. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about types of short films that you can make. You can make a short film that is just action sequence, like a real life stuff. Bill talking to Sally, walking to here, driving to there, smiling, waving, talking. You can do that. So that's just real live action. You could do silent film, so where there's no talking. Everything is just music in the background. The music kind of guides it, and there's no talking the whole time. You can do cartoon. If you want to, you can make a cartoon. That takes some time, and all your energy goes into the paper. It's not into being out and about, but it goes into the drawing. You can do a cartoon. Cartoon takes a lot of time. You can do stop motion, which is kind of like animation, but it's different. You're taking snapshots. I've already had two people actually tell me they want to do stop motion. So you're taking snapshots of something as it goes along, and it's like you put those together, and it makes a moving picture. So stop motion. Another one is like claymation. That's also stop motion. But claymation, you're forming little clay structures to move, like Wallace and Gromit. I don't know if you know what that show is, but another one type of short film you can do is called narration, where you have somebody narrating what's happening, almost like you're reading a book, right? It's like it's narrating what's happening. I like narrations. I made a lot of narrations. I can show you an example if you want, but it's somebody's audio talking over what's happening, and kind of that person's talking guides the story and what's going on. Another one you can do is like a documentary. It's like you're talking about the history of something or what happened in this situation. You're documenting. You're talking about something that actually has happened. So these are just some types of stories that you can do. You're not limited to those. You can do any kind you want. But these are things I want you to get started. So here's where your homework is. You have 1 week. Okay, you have 1 week before our first workshop. I do not want to spend our first workshop talking all about this stuff and spending all of our time doing that stuff. I want to recap this stuff just to touch on it, and I want to spend the rest of the time with you writing your story and making it and tweaking it, getting it better, making it nicer. So right now is the time for you to start thinking, what is my story? What kind of plot do I want to have? What kind of characters do I want to have? What style do I want to have? These are the things you got to be thinking about right now. So you got 1 week. There's going to be one more video between now and the end, and next Thursday, one more video. We're going to be talking about a few more elements. But for right now, start thinking about what you're going to write about. Okay? Start writing. You can be starting right now. You can get a head start. Don't think that you have to wait for the first workshop to start writing. Start writing now. Are you ready? So be thinking about your characters. Be thinking about your setting. Be thinking about your plot. Be thinking about the type of video you want to make. And be thinking about your beginning, your middle, and your end. All right? You ready? On your mark, get set,